Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend and Publish, and welcome to episode 69, the Tuesday Reset. Today is actually a Tuesday in March, even though this episode won't come out for a couple of weeks. And I was a little bit inspired to provide this episode today because it occurred to me that many academics make plans on Sunday night or Monday to set up their weeks. For example, I know Carrie Ann Rockmore, who runs the National Center for Faculty Diversity and Development, talks about having a Sunday meeting with yourself to get set up for the week. It's a great article in Inside Higher Ed, and I know she's talked about it in many other venues. I will link to it in the show notes. And Sunday meetings are fabulous. They're always what I aspire to do. A lot of times I will do my planning on Monday mornings, just earlier on Monday mornings, just so I make sure I have a grip on the week. But either way, sometimes that planning doesn't happen. And that was the case for me this week. I sort of knew in my head what I had going on this week. I knew what kinds of writing I wanted to do, what teaching things I had, but I just never got around to actually planning it. And sure enough, Monday was a little bit derailed because I didn't have everything written out and I didn't figure out what were some of the things that I needed to do. So I still managed to get some writing done on Monday. I had some opportunities to do a little bit extra that I wasn't able to take advantage of because I didn't know I was going to have those open times. And then there were a couple of things that just got lost in the shuffle that I should have taken care of on Monday that kind of messed up the rest of the week in one way or the other. And so I know that there's been a couple of times where I just said, okay, Monday's gone. Oh, well, it's gone. It's too bad, but it's gone. And so what I've tried to do is think about Tuesday as the start of the week. So I try to fake myself out that Tuesday is the first day of the week, not Monday. And in my mind, I was always calling this the Tuesday reset. And sometimes I will even say this to my children, hey, Monday was really kind of terrible, but hey, we're in a Tuesday reset. Let's just start over again. And so what I thought I would do on this episode is show a couple of screenshots about what a Tuesday reset might look like. So for those of you that are listening to the audio only, you don't need these screenshots to understand what it is I'm talking about. But if you're watching it on YouTube, you can actually see a couple of pictures of what I mean by that. So let me share this with everybody. Okay, so what I did to reset my Tuesday was just to stop whatever I was doing the first time I had a free moment, which was about a 45-minute block between some meetings. And I opened up my planner and I just devoted those 45 minutes to figuring out this week, including today. So at the time that I'm recording this is around 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. So I guess we could say Tuesday morning is also already over. And this was really helpful because I did the things that I normally would do on a Sunday or a Monday, where I looked at my Outlook calendar. I checked out all of my responsibilities of where I need to be. I checked through my email just to see, who do I owe items to? I didn't do anything about those things that I owe, but I just looked around a little bit to see, I need to bring recruitment materials to a university that I'm going to recruit at on Thursday. So a little shout out to Ohio Northern University. If you're listening, I am coming to you. And I know I need materials for that visit. So just knowing that right now is helpful because I need to get those materials together. We're back to face-to-face recruiting for our graduate program. Other things that showed up were, tonight on a Tuesday, I have a graduate seminar from 6 to 9 p.m. I vaguely knew what I was going to do, but I hadn't made anything or really figured out an agenda for tonight. So I figured out that piece. Another thing that I did was look at the weekly page in my planner and actually write out what it is I'm supposed to be doing all week, even knowing that I've now lost a day, technically a day and a half of the actual work week. And that's okay. It is what it is. So I just went in there and kind of wrote things out. For those of you able to see a shot on the screen, the planner that I use, I talk about this a lot, is Rachel Hollis's Priority Planner. You can check out her stuff. If you just look at like Rachel Hollis planners, look at Priority Planner, you can check out some of the ones that she offers. But I like hers just because they're pretty cheap. They're 3 months at a time in a hardbound book because I'm pretty hard on my planners. And also I like it that it's got a weekly page to kind of set some weekly goals. It's got some monthly, and it also has big daily pages, which I like because I like to write down a lot of things on those pages. I'm also more of a paper planner, but you might have some other version of this in Outlook or in your email system or Google or wherever you keep these things. But you can see on here, for those of you that are looking at the video, I have a couple of things written out. I just have a few writing goals that I want to accomplish for the week. Those are like my weekly results. And for those of you just listening who can't see this, I talked in a previous episode about using Asana to manage a large writing project. I will make sure that I say something about that or have a link to that in the show notes. And so some of the tasks that I wrote in my weekly results won't make sense to anybody else, but I know that these are tasks in my Asana board that I need to knock out. And I figured out with the time that I have left from, about 3.5 weekday work days, I could knock out 2 of these tasks. So I listed those. I also listed a couple of other things I want to do this week. For example, I need to write some show notes for podcasts that are already recorded. And I know I need to get those recruitment materials together. So those are also on there. I also wrote down a couple of other things. This planner I also like is that it makes, or one of the reasons I also like this planner is that it makes you identify when are you going to get your real work done? And not that teaching and administration and the other things we do aren't work, but in my mind, I try to reserve the spot for when am I going to do some academic writing, since it's such something that is so easily pushed off. And so if you look at my little screenshot, for those of you that can see it live, and even those of you that can't, on Tuesday, I don't have any academic writing because after I record this for you, I will be doing some school pickups and then teaching my graduate class tonight. So I know today I don't have any more time, and that's okay. I needed to figure that out anyway. I can't count Tuesday as a writing day, but I do have some time on Wednesday. I've got some time on Friday. And so I did a little bit of adjusting to give myself a little bit more time to make up for the time that I didn't use today. I also was very realistic, and I looked at Thursday and thought, could I squeeze some writing in? After I figured out my calendar, I realized, no, there's no way I can. And much better to find that out now. I'm doing recruitment in the morning where I have to travel, and then I have 2 bigger meetings with a school pickup in between. There's no time in there, unless I'm going to do it at night, which many parents I know are working with their children at home on homework and things like that. I just know it's not going to happen on Thursday, and that's okay, because that made me look at what do I have on Friday, and I realized I have a schedule for a car appointment. So I need to do it. I was tempted to just cancel the car appointment and devote the day to writing. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, sitting there in the waiting room at a car appointment with headphones is not a bad place to write. I've written there before. So that's where I'm going to do it. And so another thing, this is a fun note about this planner. It always makes you pick a theme song for the week. So right now I'm listening to a song called Unstatus Quo. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. You can check out if this is something that you like, but I like picking out a theme song because I think it gives you some ideas about what it is you're focusing on for the week. So I spent 45 minutes, even though I might be tempted to say, well, I should use this time for writing right now and get back into it. It was far better for me to spend 45 minutes doing a quick Tuesday reset to just figure out what is going on this week. So that's what I did. And then one of my tasks on here is that I needed to figure out what I'm doing in class tonight, like really figure it out. And I realized with what I have left on Tuesday, I don't have that much time left before this class. I have around an hour and a half, which is not a lot of time to do a lot of high quality prepping. So what I decided to do was to think about ways to make the class work for me and work for them. So this is partly a discussion about teaching a little bit and just being flexible about how to recognize, what you can do and what you can't do or can't do. One of the things that I wanted to do with my class tonight is that I have a hybrid class of graduate students where some people are on Zoom and some people are face-to-face. And my face-to-face crowd and we had already planned to get some Thai food for dinner, where I'll be bringing in some dinner and we're going to eat together before class. I initially envisioned this as happening before class, which is a small constraint on my time as I pick it up. And what I decided to do, and I'm going to switch to another screenshot, and people can see my actual Canvas screenshot of my class. This is a class in classical rhetoric. But what I decided to do was, instead of having us eat dinner before class, what I'd like to do is then invite everybody to have dinner, and we're going to watch a couple of videos to cover some material that I need to cover, but I'm not going to be able to make or dig out the lecture notes that I have on these topics. So what we're doing tonight is we're looking at Cicero, Quintilian, and Augustine. If you don't know who any of those people are, I think most people probably do, but if you don't, that's okay. You don't need to know it for this podcast. But essentially what I needed to do was talk about a transition in history for the field of classical rhetoric, which is what this class focuses on. And I could do that myself. I have done it myself many times. I've taught this class myself many times. But this time I decided that, we could have a little bit of chit chat, have some dinner for my face-to-face people. Zoom people can get on the Zoom, but then we can all enjoy dinner and watch a couple of videos. Yes, this is probably not the way I would normally do this, but I figured it's a half hour of time. I think we've watched maybe 2 videos in the entire class, 2 or 3. So I feel like this is a good use of time. And I know for me, this is a way that I could buy myself a little bit of time rather than digging or prepping out lecture notes or anything like this. All 3 of the videos are different. I would argue pretty engaging, and they mix up the content to set me up for the rest of the class in an efficient way. So here's an example of how I just decided, with my time left, with my immediate priorities, what could I do? And in this case, I know most of our discussions are about writing, but in this case, this was about just figuring out my on-fire priority, which is I have to teach tonight. What am I doing? So that's one way that I handled it. And then a second shot that I'm showing right now is how I maintained some of what I originally planned. So I'm going to use that half-hour setup for everybody to relax, eat, watch the videos to kind of set up the history and remind us about what we talked about last week. But then I'm still doing the 2 other pieces that I had originally planned for class. So I have a little bit of some preparation work to do, but something I can easily tackle within an hour and still run a really good class. And so for me, I'm living with the choice to have dinner and a movie. That's what I called it, to try to make it fun. And, this is something you might be able to do for some of your classes sometimes if you need to just buy some breathing room. It's not practical for everybody, certainly, but in this case, I think it's worth it. And it's just an example of how I did a little bit of quick modification once I figured out what was going on during the Tuesday reset. And then I want to close with a screenshot of what my planner looks like, because I actually added a few things after I wrote it out. This sometimes will happen to me because if I'm very focused in figuring out what do I have left to do for the week, sometimes I miss a few things, and I realized I still have things Tuesday afternoon that need to be added to this list. So I added them, but once I got them finished, I crossed them off. So one of the things was figuring out a class agenda for my Tuesday night class, which I did, and now it's crossed off, and also to do this podcast episode on the Tuesday reset, because, I like to cross things off. So even though this wasn't on there originally, I put it on there to give myself some credit. One last note too about this planner page that I'm showing for those of you watching the video, there's a spot in this planner where you could list what you do as like a morning routine. I've mentioned previously that I do sometimes write it in there, but I am a big fan now of using a habit tracker. And we are currently giving these away at Defend and Publish. The one that I like to use is from a company out of Cleveland. I will put a link to it in the show notes. But if you want a free habit tracker, I have 20 to give away. So if you want to email me at Christine, Christine, at defendandpublish.com. If you email me and you live in the US, I will mail you a habit tracker. You can have the same one I use for free. For those of you that are our non-US listeners, I have lots of cool digital downloads that normally you have to pay for to get them, but I have some free ones to give away. So if you're interested in any of that, you can email me at Christine at defendandpublish.com and get yourself some free swag. And I hope these tips were helpful for a Tuesday reset. Happy writing this week.